All right, so last time we talked a little bit about rabies and Bordetella. It does say here that there is no known value in administering the intranasal Bordetella every 6 months. I did find that actually on there.
What's your resource?
AHA's 2017, that's the newest one I could find. We talked about Bordetella. The one question we're still not 100% sure about was we know that injectable Bordetella has to be boosted, 3 to 4, just like any other vaccine, but the going from intranasal to injectable, does the injectable then need to be boosted in 3 to 4 weeks? We don't know yet. I think that's probably the case because they probably work differently, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll try and look it on VIN sometime. Lepto is a bacteria that spreads in the urine of infected animals. Typically, we thought of that as more of a hunting dog or cat issue because they're out in the woods, more exposure to wild animals. They drink from the river, the pond, the puddles that something is urinated in, and then they get it. We've had a couple cases here in the villages, not excessive amounts, but it can cause kidney failure, liver failure, so it is a pretty serious issue. And relatively easy to treat. So if we can catch it, obviously it is something that's relatively easy to treat, but it can also be spread to humans. So they get urine on them, they eat a sandwich or whatever.
Which is why we should always be wearing gloves when we're handling and preparing urine samples.
That's right. It can actually be started as early as 8 to 9 weeks of age, like the other vaccines, but we don't typically do that. We normally do that, I think, with our second set around 12 weeks or so, just because of ease of management. It is 2 initial doses, whether that is before 16 weeks of age or after 16 weeks of age. And then a year after that. Yep. Lyme's disease is typically, we don't really have much of a Lyme's issue down here. Most of the patients that we vaccinate for Lyme's is going to be from patients that come from up north. Now we do have a lot of those compared to other places in Florida. So we actually do administer quite a bit of Lyme's vaccine. It is transmitted by a tick. Most of us know these things. Dogs can clear the infection on their own and typically don't have as many issues as humans do. And so with that, we'll see dogs who are asymptomatic, not showing any problems, and we do a heartworm test and Acuplex, something like that, and it does come up positive, and we're like, oh wow, I never even knew that. And so we have to have the discussion of exposure versus active infection, and all those kind of things. But it is similar to lepto in the fact that 2 doses, 2 to 4 weeks apart, and then yearly after that. And the flu vaccine, there's 2 strains, H3 and H3 and 2. Those are typically more for dogs who are boarding and grooming. There's not been a significant outbreak that I know of around here recently. It's been a couple of years. Have you guys heard of any? No. The big issue is we had one down in the DeLand area, and then everybody was transferring all those dogs to UF, and so we're kind of like in that area, and so everybody got real worried in this area. But for right now, we haven't heard too many issues with that. Same idea as most of the other ones. 2 injections, 2 to 4 weeks apart, and then yearly after that. And then they did have on here the rattlesnake, the Diamondback vaccine. We don't typically recommend that to anybody. We don't carry it, so I'm not going to really go over it too much. Did I press the same thing twice? I did. That's all I got.
Do you think there is a correlation to small breed dogs and vaccine reactions?
Well, okay, so not looking at any study, just kind of off of experience, I do feel like that some small dogs are predisposed to it. I don't know that it's because the amount of vaccine. I don't think it's necessarily that, but maybe so that small dogs are just more reactive in a lot of things, right? I mean, when we look at our skin cases, who are most of the skin cases, you know, now we do have a lot of Goldens and stuff like that that have issues, but really it's the little white dogs that are having allergic reactions anyway. And so that maybe play into it. But yes, I do feel like the little dogs are a little more overrepresented.
So it would be worth after vaccine, both the first and the second, because isn't it kind of true that the reactions typically will happen after the booster?
Usually what happens is the first vaccine kind of primes the system, and the second one is the worst one, or if they have a mild reaction with the first one, they may have a worsening one with the second one. Just like, you know, sometimes people come down with dogs or with people themselves, the first year the allergies aren't too bad, then the next year when the allergies come out, they're much worse because the system's already primed and ready to roll.
So on Thursday, we're going to work on cat vaccinations, and then Friday morning we'll be talking about vaccine reactions in general, correct? And that'll wrap up our
Vaccine stuff.
vaccine CE. And then I'll get everything posted online.